Welcome back to Hannity. Now, the crisis on the southern border appears to be getting worse by the day as thousands and thousands of illegal immigrants, including unaccompanied children, continue to enter the U.S. from Central America. Now, this year alone, more than 47,000 children were apprehended at the southern border. That's a 92% increase from 2013. Now, the situation is getting so bad that Border Patrol agents are completely overwhelmed and holding facilities are so overcrowded. My next guest, Texas Governor Rick Perry, says that even though he warned the president that this would happen nearly 2 years ago, clearly he has yet to get a response.
So it is a major problem. 1,000 people a day is what we're seeing apprehended at the current rate. I mean, that is just an impossible figure to really get your hands around. We've got an amazing amount of resources on the border. We've had some success there in shutting down illegal activities with surges. Number one, it's not the state's responsibility to be dealing with this issue. We're doing our part to make sure we can keep our citizens as safe as we can. But the federal government is just absolutely failing.
States of America.
Our next guest says he's been sounding the alarm about the border problem since 2012. He would know it. He is Texas Governor Rick Perry, a border state, obviously. Governor, this surprises you, I imagine, to the length and how bad the problem has gotten.
The numbers do. The numbers are shocking when you think about 1,000 a day are being apprehended along the border.
Fact and follow-up segment tonight is thousands of illegal immigrants, many of them young children, continue to pour into Texas. The state's taking unilateral action. Joining us from Washington, Governor Rick Perry. So what are you guys going to do down there to stop all this chaos?
Bill, obviously this has been going on for some time. We've been flagging this issue, calling it to the attention of this administration since 2009. 2010, I gave the president a letter on a tarmac. In 2012, we brought to their attention, flagged, put the caution lights on that there were unaccompanied children, alien children coming in, and it's only gotten worse. And now we have an absolute humanitarian catastrophe on our hands, whether or not. But the more important issue is we're either going to have a border or we're not. I will suggest to you, Americans want a border. They want it secured, and Texas is going to do its part to secure that border.
All right, Governor, thanks for coming on today.
Here at home, Texas Governor Rick Perry and the state's Republican leadership are taking matters into their own hands tonight to deal with a growing wave of illegal immigrants coming across the southern border. Correspondent Casey Stiegel reports from Dallas tonight.
Governor Rick Perry has had enough. He's directed the Texas Department of Public Safety to launch a law enforcement surge operation at the border to the tune of $1.3 million per week. Perry said in a statement, until the federal government recognizes the danger it's putting our citizens in by its inaction to secure our border, Texas law enforcement must do everything they can to keep our citizens and communities safe.
One of the other big stories that we're watching today is happening along our southern border, and Texas is leading a new push to secure our southern border as the U.S. struggles to cope with a massive influx of illegal immigrants. Officials say Texas cannot afford to wait for Washington, is now ordering the deployment of state resources to combat some of these border crossings from unaccompanied minors.
To another big story now, where Texas is now taking matters into their own hands on immigration. You've got the governor, Rick Perry, and other state leaders authorizing additional funding to go down there and beef up extra security at their border. Now, all of this comes in response to a flood of undocumented immigrants, women, children coming across those state lines. It is a very tenuous situation at the moment.
At this hour, Texas beefing up security at the Mexican border to deal with the flood of undocumented immigrants coming into the United States. State officials plan to invest more than $1 million per week in an operation they are calling a surge. Governor Rick Perry says the people coming into the U.S. illegally are a threat to his state, and he cannot wait on Washington to do something about it.
Texas Governor Rick Perry is taking unprecedented action in response to the massive number of immigrant children from Central America traveling alone as they cross the Mexican border into the United States. State leaders have approved an additional $1.3 million per week for the Texas Department of Public Safety to start what it's calling emergency surge operations, essentially allowing Texas law enforcement personnel to conduct intensified border security operations.
Texas taking border protection into its own hands. Governor Rick Perry says the state, quote, can't afford to wait for Washington to act on this crisis and will be tightening security along the border. Texas has just authorized an additional $1 million in spending per week to secure its borders. Immigration centers have seen a massive surge of people in the last few weeks. Most are children and teens.
Well, hey guys, Governor Rick Perry says he's acting because President Obama won't. The government is talking about the influx of tens of thousands of immigrant children into Texas.